Appears we're live, Ty. It appears we're live. I apologize for two things as we talk about the Big Ten and the Pac-12 canceling their fall season, which are just enormous bummers.
You should apologize. It's all your fault.
It is my fault.
Yeah.
I don't even
You are
really.
the media. It's your fault.
Yeah, I don't even really. Am I still though? I don't even know if that's true.
Yeah.
I have weird hair because I haven't gotten a proper haircut since early March, and also I moved, and so this is what you're getting as for a backdrop. But let's talk about Ty. Let's just get right to it. The Big Ten canceled its season, followed shortly by the Pac-12 canceling its fall season. Both indicated that they want to play in spring. So let's start here. Let's just get your opinion as a non-expert, non-virologist, non-medical expert, non-trained in anything that is actually pertaining to this decision. Do you agree? Do you understand? Do you full-heartedly say that everything is bad? Where are you standing right now?
Well, do I agree? I'm not a virologist. I'm not an epidemiologist. I don't know if I don't know if I'm in a position to agree or disagree. Yeah. I know as a college football fan, I'm disappointed. Mm-hmm. And I suspect a lot of folks who listen to our show, who are watching this now, they're probably in the same boat. It's it's the writing's on the wall that it's not just going to be the Big Ten and the Pac-12. What's interesting to me is now the Big 12 is reportedly the quote unquote linchpin in the conversation, which is funny because we've spent the better part of the last month making fun of, taking pokes at Bob Bowlesby because he seemed like come hell or high water, he's going to play football. So it'll be interesting to see which direction things head. I think anyone watching this and just paying attention on some just common sense basic level can see where it's going. But we saw it coming, right? We saw this coming back in April. We did these live streams back in April when we talked about to what end is the college football season in the fall going to be affected by the virus. And I think we knew then, we didn't know quite to this extent, but we knew then that there were going to be some complications related to the coronavirus. And here we are, August the 11th, Dan. How do you feel? Where are you at?
I get it. I get it just because of the number of factors that schools are weighing with regard to risk, with regard to optics and public perception. I understand it. It doesn't make me any happier about it because it's a pretty enormous bummer. It is a pretty enormous bummer that I think we saw coming. But in terms of schools saying that there's risk, obviously, if something incredibly tragic happens, then all of a sudden, everybody is going to say, well, all of these experts told you that this was a bad idea. The medical advice was this is a bad idea. And then we're seeing whether it's the Pac-12 talking about myocarditis, this ongoing cardiac condition that's really scary. Whether it's any of those things and something bad actually happens. Now, I know risk is part of life, but this is a novel virus. This is not driving a car. This is not going to a party. This is not whatever. This is a very, very serious thing. So when you have the medical advice rooted in, we don't know, and that's scary, it's very difficult from these conferences to ask players to take on a bigger risk for, and I know obviously people have strong thoughts about what the rewards are of playing college football, major college sports, but if it's just a scholarship, room and board, that does have value, but if they're assuming more risk, if they are signing a waivers, which are just not applicable, not defendable in court, then with no reward, schools and liability become a pretty significant thing. And so there's an amateurism protection thing, there's a health thing, there's an optics thing. And so it's incredibly disappointing, but it's hard to refute from a moral place.
Yeah. It's I think it's also understandable from the player and coach perspective. If you ask any 18-year-old kid, do you want to play football? They're going to say yes. Do you ask any coach, do you want to play football? They're going to say yes. So I don't disagree, I guess, with the standpoint that someone like a Scott Satterfield, for example, is voicing at Louisville. He's like, look, we've done everything you wanted. We've had 4 positive cases in 2 months. We have done everything we are supposed to do. Our players have been incredibly disciplined, and yet you're going to shut us down. Other coaches have echoed the same sentiment. We saw it all throughout the Big Ten with Ryan Day, with Jim Harbaugh, certainly with James Franklin. They're trying to give voice to this base, this this base of players that are out there who really do want to play. And I get it from their perspective. Totally. I understand how it's frustrating. I certainly get it from a fan's perspective, how disappointing it is.
Yeah.
At the same time, there is that liability layer to this. And while I certainly think that the whole "we want to play" hashtag movement that we saw Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields and some of these more prominent players give voice to, well, that's going to live on. And I think that's going to have longer term ramifications in the sport of college football.
Let's hope.
The time for that having a real impact here passed long ago. This is a decision that was going to be made by university presidents, by board of trustees, by legal teams. This is so far beyond the realm of the heartwarming hashtag that's going to turn things around. This is now about dollars and cents in a different way than it would be having guys out there on the field on Saturday. And I think they made a legal decision. I think they're trying to avoid liability wherever they can. Yeah. Not saying that's the wrong decision, but just so people understand where it's coming from, that's exactly where it's coming from. They are risk averse, these institutions, and this is just the way the decision like this is going to go down.
People are asking whether there's any sort of breakdown about how the Big Ten voted. I sincerely doubt it was unanimous because of the amount of money potentially on the line. But it seems, if the reports are to be believed leading up to it, that it was close to it was overwhelming in terms of how the presidents and chancellors voted. I also, and maybe you feel differently, I don't think there's any way they play in spring. I just don't.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. Well,
we could talk about that, but the one thing I'll mention about the Big Ten vote, and I'm sure more will come out about this, there was what Dan Patrick reported on his show a day or two ago, that it was 12-2 in favor of canceling, with the only two holdouts being Nebraska and Iowa.
Right.
And I think we can all but confirm that Nebraska was part of it based on the statement that they released shortly after the announcement came down from the Big Ten that they're going to keep their options open. They still want to play. Purdue, on the other hand, came out and said, no,
nope.
Our home's the Big Ten. We're cool with the Big Ten. So if Nebraska was not part of that dissenting vote, my guess is that releasing that statement is going to be all the more confusing.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. It will be. And what's going to be fascinating moving forward, obviously you mentioned the Big 12. They're sort of a swing conference right now as it relates to the ACC and the SEC. And this is a conference that has had a number of issues deciding on anything of far less import, let alone something like this. So who knows what's going to happen there? I assume the Big 12 is going to try to play, but everything seems to be split. I saw a report, and I'm not going to credit this correctly. I apologize for forgetting, but that there was a faction that wants to cancel, a faction that wants to play, a faction that wants to delay. And that all sounds about right. I don't see, especially when you look at what the Pac-12 highlighted, and the Pac-12 footprint in terms of the virus and in terms of testing and cases, hospitalizations, et cetera, has been mixed. Obviously, Arizona has been a nightmare. California has some bad moments. Washington has had some bad moments. Nevada, even though it's not a Pac-12 state, it's still in that footprint, has had some bad moments lately. So one of the things highlighted in that Pac-12 report is we don't have rapid testing capability where it needs to be for all of these member institutions to test as often as they'd like to test. The actual capability to take the responsible protocol steps isn't there. We've seen how much it's been a struggle on the national level and getting tests back quickly and avoiding lines and all those things. But yes, in an ideal world, we'd have this amazing protocol everywhere. That's not a world we live in, Ty.
Yeah. Well, could it be a world in 6 or 7 months?
Yeah, potentially. It could be, but I don't know where the evidence is in terms of trending, because we've reached this point after many months now where it's not available. So I don't know where the evidence is that we're all, as a collective people, going to get our act together to that point by February, March. I don't know.
It's a fair question. And this problem, however much people would want to pin it on the leadership of the Big Ten or the Pac-12 or the ACC or whoever, this is not a problem that they created. This is a societal thing, which we don't have to get into on a college football live stream. But this is far greater than just the sport of college football controlling this virus, getting it to a point where people are comfortable to go out and across the country, all throughout, live their lives like they normally would. That's a bigger issue than we can cover on a 20-minute stream. You do bring up a good point though about the spring. And I think the prevailing question is not just around testing. Testing is only one component of this, but if there is a larger health risk to folks who contract the virus, if it maybe affects the heart, certainly we're going to find out more over the course of time by the time a spring season could potentially roll around. At what point will we get to that stage where everybody's comfortable just going out and doing this thing again? Right? Like, is there a threshold that the Big Ten or college football as a whole can get to, can target, can put out there as sort of like a benchmark that the rest of us can look at and say, oh, okay, they're getting close, they're not getting close. We still have a ways to go. Like it feels like this is so much of a moving target. There is an optics layer, certainly a health layer, a liability layer. It's such a complex thing that
Right.
it does not feel like we truly know at this point what they're shooting for before they feel safe enough to get out there on the field. Does that make sense? You know what I mean?
It makes total sense, and that's why I think spring is just
Yeah.
even though it's not soon, it still feels too soon. Whereas now there can be some sort of, if everybody ends up canceling, they can say, okay, by Jan 1, we need to see this. And if we
Right.
don't see this by
Right.
Jan 1, by Feb 1, we need to see this and this. And so there can be benchmarks put in place if we want to get fall 2021. I hate being pessimistic. I hate that this resides in my gut because all I want to see is Penei Sewell,
No.
and Justin Fields, and Trevor Lawrence.
Well, you're not gonna,
Yeah.
but you're not gonna. You're
Right.
not gonna. Even if we have,
Well, we might see Trevor Lawrence for 3 weeks. I don't know.
even if like I'm under the assumption at this point that everyone's gonna nuke this season.
Right.
I
Yeah.
just don't see how that's not gonna happen at this point. And
Well, do you think it's going to all happen in the next month, or do you think it's going to be an eventual nuking? Like, will teams,
yeah,
will conferences, will the American try? Will the SEC try?
I just don't think they can.
Okay.
I don't think it's going to go that direction. I think there may be some impulse to be that lone holdout,
Right.
and somebody like the SEC probably will. But Greg Sankey's been, I think, pretty I don't know, sensical about the whole thing. He's talked about a
Sure.
delay. He's talked about using the advice of medical advisors as best as possible. And so I don't think they're going to do the dumb thing just to be the only one out there on the field. I think
sure.
eventually it's all going to get there. It's a matter of when, not if.
Right.
But guys like Justin Fields have no motivation to play. Trevor Lawrence, you kidding me? He's not going to play if this leaks out into spring at this point. Forget it. These guys have no motivation to do so. Maybe in the fall, I guess that's a different story. But I'm operating under the belief that we're going to bump the whole thing to spring, and I don't quite share the same level of skepticism. We've been told that there is potential for a vaccine by the end of the year. I don't again know how valid that is or isn't, but that's at least something that we could look at as a
who deserves
possibility.
the benefit of the doubt, though, at this point? Who deserves it? It's not the current United States public health system. It's
No,
not
it isn't.
college football organization.
Look,
it is not college football conferences. It is not college football teams. Who is it that deserves the benefit of the doubt for your even slight confidence that everybody's going to get their act together collectively?
nobody does. Nobody does. But I'm just saying, we had college football take a collective dump on our fandom this afternoon. I'm not saying it's without good reason. And so now here we are looking ahead to spring. It sounds like the intention is to try and cobble something together in the spring, be it 6 or 8 or 10 games, who knows?
Right.
So I am trying not to throw cold water on that quite yet. And what I'm telling you is there is some reason to believe that maybe 6 or 7 months from now, we have better testing protocols. We have potential for a vaccine. I don't know. And maybe the time in between gives institutions a more time to think about how you can keep kids safe come springtime. Maybe it gives the virus a chance to run its course more and for cases to be at a more manageable level. I don't know, but I think I understand the skepticism. I think that if we kick the can down the line, 6, 7 months, maybe there's more reason for optimism. But
You know what I just heard a lot of right there? I'm
trying.
No, I know. You presented a case. Though the concern also to me is we're seeing. I saw like Duke has a doctor, and the SEC, Greg Sankey's saying they're medical experts.
Right.
I'm worried that whatever the truth is, the only person that actually knows is a expert from 2027, right? Like it's
Yeah.
a time traveling expert. And so
It is.
you can find anybody. You hear about doctor shopping. Oh, you don't need this pill. Well, maybe another doctor will tell me I need this pill. So I
Yeah.
am worried that, the Big Ten went out and said we need extreme evidence to say that we don't. I'm not saying that this happened, but what I'm saying is maybe in the case of an SEC, ACC, it's clear everybody wants to play. And perhaps, and this can't also be stressed enough, doctors are stupid, just like everybody else can be stupid no matter what you do. There's a very, very slim sliver of public health experts that know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
And their primary concern, shocking as it may be, is not seeing Justin Fields again, is not seeing, Felipe Franks suit up for Arkansas, is not seeing Trevor Lawrence play one more time for Clemson. So that to me is a concern that conferences perhaps are operating on but what do you think would lead us to playing? Well, just steering their search for doctors that give the answers. I don't know. That's a concern to me.
It is. And write in solidverbal@gmail.com.
Yes.
Leave comments on this thread. I think we're going to open the reverb line.
Sure.
This week to get some fan reaction. It's 408 verbal 1. That's 408-837-2251. If you want to give us your input on the matter, obviously this is something of a controversial move by the Big Ten and Pac-12. Again, I'm of the belief, Dan, I know you well enough to know that eventually you are going to be of the belief that they're all going to go the same direction here, that college football is probably a lost cause for the 2020 season. We are going to continue recording.
Yes.
As we always do. Interestingly enough, today was the day that we had scheduled originally for our Big Ten preview show.
Yeah.
And it became pretty clear over the weekend that we would have to talk about something different today. Yeah. And we are going to record the show a little bit later, maybe after we eat dinner tonight. I don't know. Mm-hmm. Give the news a little bit more of a chance to run its course and come to the fore here before we hit record, and then everything goes obsolete the second we say it. But yeah, we were going to do Big Ten today. I guess we don't have to do that. Some other conferences, I guess we're just going to have to keep an eye on. But even if they all end up playing, I think we've got more time at this point. I think they're going to try and delay as much as possible. If you're the SEC, give yourself more time to figure out what exactly is going to go down and hopefully make a reasoned decision from there. But again, if you're just tuning in, if you don't know what's going on, the Big Ten and Pac-12 officially pull the plug on the 2020 fall season. Their intention is to play in the spring. A lot of skepticism out there whether or not that will be possible, but for the moment, that seems to be the company line. You can reach us, like I said, at solidverbal@gmail.com. You can also leave a comment on the live stream. If you don't subscribe to the podcast, please do so. You can find us pretty much anywhere podcasts can be found. Spotify, Google, Stitcher, Apple, anywhere. Subscribe to the show. We're going to be broadcasting all throughout this really weird time in college football. Unbelievable.
Yeah. Hey, you want to hear some comments real quick?
Yeah, please.
A lot of sadness. We got Crazy Alex saying sad gig'em. We had somebody ask about the vote breakdown. We do not have that at this time.
Not yet.
J. Cody Lewis. Is it me or Dan and Ty seem like they've already been hitting the home gym? I haven't been. I definitely haven't been.
No.
But maybe these cameras are very kind to us right now.
Yeah. Camera adds 10 pounds of muscle, right?
Yeah,
that's what they say.
Cody also wants to know if we can get you to become a Twitch streamer. A lot of pessimism, a lot of sadness.
Yeah.
You know what? I can tell you this. Not only are we going to keep recording, we're going to be doing more. Not necessarily more like we're not going to 5 shows a week or anything like that, but the Solid Verbal universe keeps expanding. You're seeing our faces more, I can tell you that, and it'll be on even better cameras. So thank you for watching this. Continue to watch. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to the channel. It's very easy to do so. If you're watching the show on wherever you are and you want to hear more of, I'm telling you, we get sillier on the show. We get weirder. It's fine. Subscribe to the podcast as well. Ty, I don't know if you have anything left to add beyond just thanks for watching and we'll see you soon. But thanks for watching. We'll see you soon.
Stay solid. Yeah, stay solid.
All right. Take it easy, everybody.